Before Sakura even realized it, he had been walking a tightrope for a long time. The only path he believed would allow him to accept who he was just as narrow and precarious as that tightrope. There was no safety line. If he fell, he would die. That's why, no matter what happened, he couldn't fall, because no one would come to save him. His muscles were tense, breathing was hard, his breath was ragged, but he had already grown used to all of it. The adults had always told him that life wouldn't be easy, so even if it was difficult, he believed this was what it meant to live. But what if it didn't have to be like that? What if the tightrope wasn't the only path? What if there was a place without tension, without ragged breaths, without the fear of falling? A place where he could stand freely. Then, maybe. Inside first grade, classroom 1, Sakura's friends were chatting among themselves. Someone wondered if Sakura wasn't going to show up again today. Kiryu suggested trying to ask in the group chat. Sugura agreed, saying if Sakura still didn't show, he'd go visit him with some protein powder. Suo asked if Sugura carried that around with him every day, to which Sugura replied, "Nah, he kept that one at school." Just then, the classroom door opened. Sakura had arrived. Nirei greeted him with a cheerful, "Good morning," and said he was worried Sakura might still be absent today. Suo noted that Sakura looked much better than he did yesterday. Kiryu remarked that who would have thought even Sakura could come down with a fever. Sugura told Kiryu that was rude, adding that he himself had gotten fevers from training too hard. Nirei asked just how hard Sugura had been training to make himself sick. Then he noticed Sakura had his head down and asked if something was wrong. Was he still feeling unwell? Sakura clenched his fist. In his mind, he was still gripping tightly onto that tightrope, teetering at the edge. He remembered Umemiya telling him that it was okay. He just had to take the leap with everything he had. Suddenly, gathering his courage, Sakura shouted that he had something to say to everyone. The room went quiet, stunned. Sakura began to speak. He admitted he had always thought it was normal for him to do everything on his own. He believed that was just how life worked, but he had failed, and worse, he had taken it all out on them. He confessed that he was weak, a poor excuse for a man. Someone like him being the grade captain could only lead to disappointment, but still, that's who he was. His grip on the tightrope tightened, his eyes widened, sweat streamed down his face. He continued, saying that just like last time, he was sure he would only cause more trouble for them. And then, he jumped. He apologized to everyone. The room was silent. Nobody knew what to say. Then suddenly, Sugishita kicked Sakura. Sakura yelled in pain, asking why he'd done that. Sugishita replied it was Sakura's fault for standing in the doorway. The others praised Sugishita for his timing. Anzai and a few others grabbed Sakura and slammed him to the floor. Anzai grabbed him by the head and called him a jackass, telling him to knock off the ridiculous act. Sakura was confused. Kiryu said that was kind of mean. Atsugura added that there was no virtue in what Sakura had done. Suo chimed in, saying he felt insulted. Sakura's confusion only deepened. Anzai pulled him closer by the shirt and told him that Sakura could act like he was owning up to being a lame ass, but he was socially awkward, a pain to deal with, and had a big attitude. Anyone could see that just by looking at him. But even so, who cared? How could anyone feel disappointed when they saw how much something that hurt them also hurt him? When they saw how stupidly serious he was, how much he worried about all of it? Why did he think he had to apologize for something so natural, something they had all done to him before too? Did he really think that was enough to piss them off? Ianzi told him to get real. No one like that existed here in Furin. It didn't matter how awkward he was or what a pain he could be. He still charged straight into trouble to protect his friends, and that made him seriously cool. Anzai said they really truly liked Sakura for who he was. Before Sakura realized it, the light had returned. The emptiness inside him was replaced by something new. The endless void transformed into a beautiful landscape. He finally realized he wasn't alone anymore. He had his friends. They reached out their hands and lifted him from the ground. His body felt light. Breathing came easy. He never knew a place like this could exist. But now that he'd found it, this is where he wanted to be. Suo told Sakura that causing trouble for others or helping carry their burdens wasn't entirely a bad thing. It just seemed like Sakura had always been alone, so asking him to suddenly change would be a big ask. But Suo hoped that if Sakura could just take it one step at a time, he'd slowly grow familiar with the feeling of relying on others. Suddenly, Anzai shouted, "Forget it," adding that their grade captain clearly didn't understand them well enough yet. The others agreed with a cheer. Standing with arms crossed, Anzai declared that after school, they were all going out for a meal. They were going to hold a get-together to get to know each other better. Sakura remarked that he was pretty sure they just wanted to eat. Everyone started shouting what they wanted: barbecue, fried skewers, cake, and so on. But Anzai turned to Sakura and said he had to decide. It didn't matter what, just pick something. Sakura hesitated, questioning if deciding dinner plans was really part of the grade captain's duties. Suo encouraged him to just choose something he liked. As everyone gathered around him, shouting their favorites, Sakura hesitantly said he wanted omelette rice, and then looked around, waiting to be judged. But to his surprise, everyone agreed without hesitation. They decided to go to Pothos Cafe, though some wondered if it could seat them all. Sakura let out a relieved sigh, his mood visibly lifting when he heard the fried onigiri that was also really good. Suo smiled, noting that Sakura looked like he was feeling a lot better now. But then he noticed something off and asked Nirei what was wrong. Nirei, usually the first to speak up whenever Sakura doubted himself, seemed distant. He chuckled awkwardly, brushing it off by saying he was just dazing out today, but added that he was really happy to see Sakura smiling again. After school, the entire group went to Pothos Cafe. Kotoha, already overwhelmed, snapped at them, asking if they were serious about making her cook omelette rice for everyone. She asked if they were stupid or something. The group begged her, claiming the omelette rice that was the best in the world. Annoyed but softening, Kotoha turned to Sakura and asked if he was feeling better. Blushing, Sakura apologized for the other day and said he'd bring back her container next time. Kotoha, surprised, asked if he still had a fever, which left Sakura stunned. Kakiuchi shoved Sakura and told him the main star should be at the back. Sakura shouted that he knew already and told him to stop pushing. Kotoha looked at them curiously, wondering what they meant by main star. Inside, the boys were lost in the flavor of the food, declaring Pothos's omelette rice to be the best. Meanwhile, Kotoha stared at the eggs she'd just bought yesterday. Then, Takahashi suggested that since Sakura had been brave enough to confess to being a dumbass, everyone else should also share what made them lame. Kotoha blinked in confusion, wondering what was going on. The group agreed, but said Takahashi had to go first. With a serious expression, he revealed that he was terrified of bugs. While others just saw them as tiny creatures, he saw them as little monsters. He especially hated the underside of hard-shelled insects. Just thinking about it gave him goosebumps. Suo laughed, teasing that for someone so scared of bugs, Takahashi sure could fight. Nirei jotted it down in his diary, remarking that he never would have guessed Takahashi's weakness was insects. Next up was Tsugura. He admitted he was deathly afraid of ghosts. When he had to go to the bathroom at night, he turned on all the lights, and when he shampooed his hair, he kept his eyes wide open because otherwise he was too scared. Kiryu asked if that didn't hurt his eyes. Tsugura replied that it did, but it was still better than closing them. He then pointed at Sakura and asked if he wasn't scared of ghosts too, reminding him that ghosts couldn't be beaten no matter how hard you trained. You couldn't even touch them. Sakura sighed, saying he got it already, but asked why Tsugura was taking his clothes off. Suo laughed, happy to see Sakura blending in. He said that everyone had weaknesses, everyone had an uncool side, but that wasn't something to be ashamed of or afraid of. Kotoha smiled softly as she watched. Kiryu agreed and turned to Suo, asking what his weakness was. Suo, jokingly, said he was scared of manju. Kiryu caught the joke immediately, recognizing it from a famous Rakugo story called Manju Kawaii, where boys pretend to be afraid of sweets to get someone to buy them. But Sakura didn't get it. Confused, he asked if Suo meant manju as in the food. Was it scary because it could give you a stomachache from overeating? Kiryu told Suo to look at what he had done. Sakura had believed him. Sakura yelled, asking if it was a lie. Suo burst out laughing, saying he didn't expect Sakura to fall for it. While flipping through his diary, Nirei asked Suo if he really didn't like natto, fermented soybeans. The other boys smirked while Suo tried to deny it, nervously asking where Nirei got that from. Nirei said that he got that information while he was asking around about him, though he doesn't remember exactly who said it. Anzai ran up to Kotoha, asking if they had any natto in the cafe. Kotoha asked why on earth they would. Kurita announced he'd go to the convenience store to get some, but Suo clung to his jacket, saying he wasn't. They were here to chat with Sakura today. Kurita called out, telling someone to hold Suo back. Suo responded that they were being pretty desperate. Watching the chaos unfold, Sakura suddenly laughed, his first real laugh. The entire group went silent, staring in surprise. Sakura became embarrassed while the others grinned. The group urged Suo to eat some natto so Sakura would smile more. Suo turned to Sakura with a soft smile and told him not to sell himself short. His smiling face was worth a lot more. From a corner, Kotoha watched the scene and thought to herself that this was exactly why she had said it. Going to Furin really had been the right choice for Sakura. She felt genuinely happy for him. Outside the cafe, Umemiya and Hiragi stood watching. Umemiya commented that Sakura and his gang were all there. He was surprised, thinking that might be all of them, and wondered if they were having a class party. He added that they seemed to be having a lot of fun and wondered what they were chatting about. Just as he reached for the door, Hiragi grabbed his wrist. With a sharp glare, he told Umemiya he wasn't letting him go this time. Did he already forget what happened that morning? Umemiya protested, saying they looked like they were having so much fun, and he just wanted to join. Hiragi snapped, telling him to learn to read the room. Inside, Sakura glanced toward the door and noticed both Umemiya and Hiragi arguing, and then he saw someone else standing behind them. That person smiled and waved at him, leaving him completely stunned. The next day, the entire school had gathered on the rooftop. Nirei exclaimed how big the saplings had gotten, and Suo agreed, noting that the days were getting longer and the mornings and nights were getting less cold too. He pointed out the Sakura tree, already lush and green. However, Sakura was more focused on the situation at hand, questioning why everyone was gathered there. Earlier, just as they were about to leave, an unexpected announcement blared over the speakers, accompanied by Umemiya's trademark loud yelling. He had instructed that anyone not occupied with their rounds or other duties should gather on the roof. Sakura noted that it looked like they were gathering everyone, regardless of grade. What were they going to do with so many people? Someone from behind said that they weren't doing anything, catching his attention. It was Hiragi, along with Matsumoto and Yanagida. He explained that it was just another usual get-together that Umemiya liked to host so people could talk to each other. The Bufurin organization was divided based on class. Although Umemiya really did want to talk to everyone, he also wanted everyone to get along and make connections, regardless of the team they were in. That was why he wanted to create the opportunity for all, and he wanted to show off his garden to everyone too. Suo remarked that Sugishita was like a tour guide, while Nirei told Hiragi that they were just talking about how big they'd gotten too. Hiragi told him to go tell that to Umemiya. He'd make him so happy, he'd cry. As Sakura turned back, thinking about what he should drink next, he saw the same person he saw yesterday with Umemiya and Hiragi. He noted that the woman had been in front of the cafe the other day. Suddenly, she walked over to Sakura, who realized that she was so tall. With a big smile, she said that she finally got to meet Sakura. Surprised by her deep voice, Sakura flinched. When Nirei recognized and said her name, Tsubakino, Sakura realized that that was a guy. Nirei told Sakura not to be rude to Tsubakino. That was one of the 4 kings. Tsubakino said that it was fine. She mentioned that she had the same stuff as the rest of them, but if they didn't mind, they should call her Tsubaki. She would love that. Tasuku Tsubakino was one of Bofurin's 4 kings and leader of the Jikoku team. Nirei asked Tsubaki if she knew Sakura. She said, of course. After all the crazy stuff he'd done, who wouldn't? Plus, his appearance was totally up her alley. His eyes and hair color were so cool. He tended to wear simpler clothes that utilized the raw materials so well. His clothes fit perfectly too. The white complemented the color of his skin brilliantly. Sakura was stunned. Suo reminded Sakura that he had seen Tsubaki before, but never thought much of it. They were in an all-boys school though. Sakura told him to shut up, saying that he just didn't give it much thought. Hiragi asked what the heck was wrong with him. Tsubaki told Sakura that he probably hadn't even considered the idea that someone born a man could dress that way. She was sorry, but she hoped he'd get used to how she dressed. Sakura replied that it didn't matter to him. He was just a little surprised, that was all. It wasn't like there was anything wrong with dressing like that. She didn't need to apologize to him. Tsubaki smiled warmly and hugged him tightly, calling him sweet. One boy told Tsubaki to leave the poor lad alone. She immediately released him and apologized. She then introduced her team, her second in command, the brothers Seiryu and Uryu Sakaki. She told them to get along. Seiryu the elder stared intently at Sakura. Uryu, however, ignored him. Seiryu got closer and commented that he thought Sakura had colored contacts in, but it looked like those were his eyes. And the hair too. He thought Sakura dyed it, but it was his natural hair color, huh? Sakura was a natural fashionista. Tsubaki whacked Seiryu's head, telling him to stop staring at Sakura. He was scaring him. Just then, Umemiya arrived, asking if everyone had gotten something to drink and offered his signature pork soup. Everyone was excited, and Matsumoto shouted that it was time to chow down. Tsubaki wanted a bowl too, but paused to fix her hair before turning back to Umemiya and asking again. Upon tasting the soup, she praised it enthusiastically, saying he'd used the perfect amount of stock and should open a restaurant. Umemiya laughed and joked that he'd name it Bofurin. Nirei handed a bowl of soup to Sakura as well, while Tsubaki continued complimenting Umemiya, saying everything he made was delicious and always made her fall for him all over again. Nirei remarked that the soup was heartwarming, But just then, Sakura began blushing and trembling. Everyone was surprised. Tsubaki asked if something was wrong. His face had turned bright red. Umemiya commented that the soup must be really hot. Nirei looked confused, but Suo realized that this was because Sakura was extra sensitive to people being openly affectionate. Even the smallest thing could make him blush. Sakura was probably reacting to Tsubaki's affection for Umemiya. Tsubaki also turned completely red and blushed. Matsumoto laughed, noting that Tsubaki was like an open book. He was dense, and even he could figure out what was happening. Seiryu added that Tsubaki was trying to hide her feelings, while Hiragi noted that everyone in their group already knew. Embarrassed, Tsubaki admitted it was true, then turned to Sakura and called him a sweet, pure boy. Seeing him blush again, she teased him. Sakura snapped, asking if she had a problem with that. She replied with a grin that she definitely didn't. She was glad he took her seriously enough to react that way, and thanked him. Umemiya smiled gently, while Sakura looked confused. Seiryu then reminded Tsubaki they had to leave. She gasped, realizing she had forgotten. When Hiragi asked if they were really going, she confirmed it and told Umemiya they were heading out. He told them to take care. Before leaving, Tsubaki looked at Sakura and asked if he'd like to go on a date with her, and once again, he turned bright red. With that, this episode of Windbreaker comes to a close. Stay tuned for the next one, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss any upcoming videos when they drop. See you in the next one.